I suppose it could have turned into a normal hobby like taxidermy, but it didn't. It veered off into this.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 creepy facts about Jeffrey Dahmer.
I guess I hope that he could be somebody that wanted to see a movie that I wanted to see.
For this list, we're looking at some of the strangest details about the infamous Milwaukee serial killer. Which of these do you find the creepiest? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Intended to build an altar out of remains. During his hours of interviews conducted after his capture in 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer confessed that he planned to use the remains of the victims he collected to make an altar to himself.
I even went so far as planning on setting up an altar with the 10 different skulls and skeletons.
He detailed his very specific plan via the photographs he took of his victims and in a drawing featuring 2 full skeletons and several skulls. All was to be arranged on a black table set up in his apartment with a chair facing the shrine, making it a, quote, place for meditation, which he viewed as an area where he, quote, could feel at home. However, he was caught before his plans were realized. Number 9. He talked his way into the White House. Turns out Jeffrey Dahmer was a master manipulator long before he fooled law enforcement. In his graphic novel, My Friend Dahmer, former Revere High School classmate John Durf Backdurf recalled a class trip to Washington, D.C. when Dahmer did the unthinkable. The high schooler lied to White House staff in order to meet then Vice President Walter Mondale. He managed to get himself and his friends a private tour of Mondale's office. In the film adaptation of the same name, the students meet the VP in person and have a brief conversation.
Sorry, excuse me. Just a second. These kids are with the newspaper, their school newspaper from
Ohio. Ohio. That's a great state. Our fellow Midwesterners. I'm from Minnesota.
However, in the comic, they see him working in his office. Still, that is quite the con. Number 8. Suspected of killing Adam Walsh.
Based on eyewitness accounts of the horrifying day Adam Walsh disappeared, some now believe little Adam may have fallen victim to the cannibalistic killer.
After he was discharged from the military in March 1981, Dahmer decided to move to Miami, Florida instead of returning home to Ohio. He worked in a deli, but ended up living on the beach and drinking. When news of his crimes came out in 1991, reports came in from witnesses who allegedly saw him at Florida's Hollywood Mall in July 1981, where little Adam Walsh went missing.
Dahmer was there. 4 people who were at that mall identified him after he was arrested by Milwaukee police. They saw his photograph and said, "That's the guy that we encountered."
Dahmer, however, denied any involvement, and since he had just admitted to killing 17 over a span of about 13 years, investigators found it unlikely that he would lie about committing any further crimes. Dahmer killing Walsh is a strange theory, though. Number 7. Planned his first attack at 16. As a teen, Jeffrey Dahmer fantasized about an attractive man he regularly saw jogging by his house every day. Once his fantasies became too great, he hatched a plan to attack the man and bring him into the woods to commit non-consensual acts. One day, he hid in the bushes with a baseball bat waiting for his target to pass.
He thought he would wait in the bushes with the baseball bat. This guy would come by and he'd bonk him in the head and he'd have this guy.
Fortunately, the man chose not to head out for a jog that day. After this first attempt, Dahmer never tried to attack him again. He cited this incident as his first real pursuit of violence against another person.
It was at this point that Jeffrey's paraphilic fantasies began.
Number 6. Parents fought over his brain.
What?
I didn't say a thing, did I?
The bizarre and disturbing nature of his unspeakable crimes made Jeffrey Dahmer a particularly fascinating serial killer. Studying how his mind worked could potentially find an answer as to why he had these violent desires, making him an ideal subject in criminal psychology research. His mother, Joyce, shared the same view, and after his death in November 1994, she wanted his brain donated to scientists at California's Fresno State University for research purposes.
We have a chance here, Lionel, to find out why he was the way he was. Was it something he was born with? Maybe there was some small tumor somewhere?
Well, I think each of us has our own idea about why Jeff was the way he was, don't we?
His father, Lionel, however, was against it, wanting to move on from the whole tragedy. The former married couple went to court over the matter, which ultimately resulted in his brain being destroyed.
There were some scientists at Case Western Reserve that claimed they could tell why he acted like he did. And it's not possible with a dead person.
Number 5, received a lot of money in prison. Believe it or not, there are many people in the world who idolize serial killers, and Jeffrey Dahmer was no exception. As seen in the Netflix series, he received fan letters with gifts and requests for drawings.
Will you send me back, like, a drawing or something? And I sent you $5.
And according to Wisconsin's Columbia Correctional Institution records, Dahmer also managed to save up thousands of dollars while in prison. By March 1994, the inmate had received letters from all over the globe, reportedly racking up more than $12,000 just from donations. While some letters were of the suggestive nature, others reached out wanting to discuss religion, provide support, or just become pen pals. Number 4. His death parallels his first murder. In the early hours of November 28, 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer was cleaning the prison gym when he was killed by fellow Columbia Correctional Institution inmate Christopher Scarver. Another inmate on cleaning duty, convicted murderer Jesse Anderson, met a similar fate. Scarver, also serving a life sentence for murder, reportedly attacked Dahmer with a 20-inch metal bar from a piece of workout equipment. Dahmer died soon after the incident, and as chance would have it, back in 1978, a teenage Jeffrey Dahmer killed his first victim, Stephen Hicks, with a dumbbell. Number 3. Took home a fetal pig. One of the most widely known facts about Jeffrey Dahmer's childhood is that he had a fascination with the internal organs and bones of dead animals, going so far as to collect roadkill.
And took them back into the woods, unknown to any of us, and dissected them just to see what was on their inside.
He kept his collection in a hut by his house, filling it with preserved remains in jars of formaldehyde.
That's enough, Jeff. Hey, Dad! No, you are spending too much time in here.
The Netflix series shows high school students dissecting fetal pigs in a science class. Afterwards, Dahmer asks permission to take one home to practice, which the teacher agrees to.
You think I could take one home? Just to practice?
To be honest with you, Jeff, I've been teaching for 22 years and no one's ever asked me that. Sure.
However, the real Dahmer was rumored to have stolen the preserved animal from the classroom, likely as a prank. In a 1994 interview, the convicted murderer admitted to taking a fetal pig home while in high school, confirming everyone's suspicions.
In 9th grade, in biology class, we had the usual dissection of fetal pigs, and I took the remains of that home and kept the skeleton of it, and I just started branching out, dogs, cats.
Number 2, tried to steal a corpse.
And what did you plan on doing?
I just wanted to lay with him.
In an effort to resist giving in to his murderous compulsions, Jeffrey Dahmer sought out alternative ways to satisfy his dark desires. At one point, he stole a mannequin from a store and brought it home, but it ultimately did not work.
In the struggle to control his fantasies, his behavior became more abnormal.
He took a mannequin from a department store, thinking that if he had that mannequin with him and sleeping in bed with the mannequin, etc., that maybe he could control the impulses that way.
One particularly macabre idea Dahmer had was to obtain the corpse of a recently deceased male.
Dahmer told me that on one occasion he had seen in the newspaper an account of a young man who was killed on a motorcycle, and he fell in love with the individual just from the photograph.
He saw an obituary in the newspaper for an 18-year-old young man he found attractive. And after attending his funeral, Dahmer tried to dig up his freshly buried grave. But it proved too difficult since the soil had already hardened.
It was March and the ground was too hard and it would have taken forever, so... But I wish I could have dug him up.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Brought a head to work. In March of 1989, while Dahmer lived with his grandma in West Allis, he went to a bar and convinced Anthony Sears to come home with him. After engaging in intimate acts, Dahmer drugged and beheaded Sears, though the killer claimed he hadn't intended to commit a crime before setting out for the evening. Dahmer then kept both Sears's head and private parts in a box.
Mr. Dahmer had become extremely disturbed in his thought processes, and the idea that the people he'd killed would somehow live on through him was part of that disturbed thinking.
As if that wasn't disturbing enough, the criminal stored the box in his locker at the Milwaukee Ambrosia Chocolate Factory, where he worked nights as a mixer. Imagining human remains inside a chocolate factory just turns our stomachs.
Were you almost flaunting it?
Yes, but that's how strong the compulsion was. That's how bizarre the desire was. I wanted to keep something of the person with me.